podcast. I'm Yanita Farah Amalia as your host today, and my student number is 123-251-096, and I'm joined by two guests.
Hello, I'm Aprilia Rima with student number 123-251-082.
And my name is Naura Amelia Wadani with my study number 123251119.
Okay, so before we start, how are you feeling today, guys? Are you happy to be here?
What about you?
Well, actually, no.
Oh, why though?
Just kidding. We're actually so happy to be here right now.
Yeah, of course. I'm so excited. What are we going to talk about today, Farah?
So today we're going to talk about something that might sound very far away from our lives, but actually still shapes the world we live in. Do you guys know what it is?
Is it the legacy of Middle Ages?
Yeah, right. When people hear Middle Ages, they will immediately think about some old things such as castles, knights, or maybe even something dark and outdated.
But the truth is, many systems that we have today, like politics, education, and even social structures, actually started during that time.
Exactly. So in this episode, we'll explore how the Middle Ages still influence our modern world, from religion and politics to society, economy, education, and culture. Let's start from the foundation. Now, can you tell us what life was like in terms of religion and power during the Middle Ages?
Sure, in the early Middle Ages, religion played a huge role in people's life. But interestingly, not everyone actively practiced it deeply. Most people only went to church on Sundays or joined sacraments like baptisms and confession.
Wait, so religion wasn't very personal back then?
Exactly. One of the reasons was literacy. Most people couldn't read, and church services were conducted in Latin, which very few understood. Even the Bible was mostly available only in Latin, so ordinary people couldn't really access it directly. Isn't that so sad, y'all?
Yeah, agree. So they only depended on religious figures, not the Bible?
Yep, you are right. Many relied on monks and nuns to pray on their behalf. Nobles supported these religious communities because they believed in benefit society, while common people believed their prayers could connect them to God.
That's interesting because if we look at today's religion, it feels like much more personal and accessible for everyone.
I know, right? And that shift started when more people, especially the elite, became literate due to the rise of universities. People began to seek a more personal relationship with God.
Oh yeah, I'm curious about something. What about the role of the Catholic Church at that time?
About the church was extremely powerful. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Europe was unstable and divided. The church became a source of order and stability. It influenced education, charity, healthcare, and even politics.
Wow, so church wasn't just a religious institution, but it also had a political influence.
Exactly. Bishops and popes advised kings, the church owned land, and it even collected taxes. It also shaped moral values like the code of chivalry for knights, being brave, loyal, and protecting the weak.
That sounds like something we still see in modern hero ideals.
I know, right? Definitely it's something like that. And then there were the Crusades. Do you know what Crusades is, guys?
Not really.
Okay, idea. I can explain it to you. The Crusades like military campaigns to reclaim the Holy Land. They were seen as acts of faith and redemption, but they are also kind of controversial because of the violence back then.
So the influence range of religion is wider than we thought, because it's not just belief but also war and society.
Yes, And politically, power was centered on monarchs. King rules with authority often believed to come from God. Over time, their rule became more structured, leading to early forms of government.
Oh, is that where modern states started?
Exactly, you're right. By the end of the Middle Ages, these systems evolved into territorial monarchies, which laid the foundation for modern nation states.
And we can't forget about feudalism, right?
But feudalism is really distinct. Feudalism was a hierarchical where kings gave lands to nobles, nobles had vassals, and kings served them. At the bottom were peasants. It was a structured system of loyalty and obligation.
Oh, I see. Now that we understand the foundation, let's move to society. Can you explain it to us, Rima?
Of course, let me break it down for you guys. So, socially, the Middle Ages were very structured. There's a huge gap between what we call nobility and peasantry. Like, do you guys know things that are identical to nobility, like what nobles are known for? Can you answer it, Farah?
No, I don't think I knew the answer to that.
Oh, I know, Rima.
What?
It's about health, power, and glamorous life, am I right?
Yeah, you're right. Nobles lived comfortably while peasants, especially serfs, worked the land and supported the entire system.
So even if the nobles who held the power, the backbone of the economy is actually the serfs?
Yeah, you're right. Serfs were tied to the land and unfortunately they had a very limited freedom. Meanwhile, knights followed the code of chivalry, which wasn't just about being polite. It was about honor, bravery, and loyalty.
Knights are like in between the lower and upper class of the social structures.
Yeah, they're kind of in the middle.
But the honor and bravery things, that really sounds like the origin of modern quote-unquote hero values.
Yes, and those values influenced the European culture for centuries. But here's the interesting part. The system started to change with urbanization.
Oh, tell me, what changed exactly?
Here's the thing. As towns grew into trade center, a new group emerged. It is the merchant class.
Merchant class. What is the merchant class, by the way?
So, like, the merchant is the one who sells things to us, and they earn the money from it. So, they were nobles, but they became wealthy through business.
So social mobility started there?
Yeah, for the first time, people could improve their status through economic success, not just birth.
That sounds very modern, just like we live now.
Yeah, it is. We need to earn money to be rich, right? And economically, this change was supported by agricultural innovations like, the three-field system and crop rotation.
Oh, so the agricultural innovations are simple changes, but they had a big impact.
Actually, it's not just big, it's huge. More food meant population growth, and that allowed people to move to cities and open endless change for them to explore new jobs.
But I'm curious about something. What about the girls?
Oh, yeah, guilds. Guilds were like early professional organizations. They were the one who regulated quality, prices, and training. You can think of them as a mix of unions and business association nowadays.
So basically, the guilds were the one who maintained the standards.
Yeah, and then there were trade fairs. This is like a massive events where goods, cultures, and ideas were exchanged internationally, not in that area.
I see. So globalization kind of started there?
Now that you mention it, it really is a very early form of thing that we know as quote unquote globalization nowadays. It was the beginning of interconnected economies. Now that I've done my part, let's move to something we experience every day. It's education. Yeah, we relate to every day, right?
That's right.
Do you mind explaining it us, Farah?
That's what I'm here for. What's interesting is that our modern education system actually started in Middle Ages. Universities were first established back then as centers of learning.
I see. So lectures and degrees come from around that time?
Absolutely. Even the way we study through discussions, debate, and critical thinking actually comes from an idea called scholasticism. Do you guys have any idea what scholasticism is?
I'm not actually. We're not at.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it. What is it exactly, Farah?
Okay, let me explain it to you. So basically, scholasticism combines faith and reason.
Oh,
It's similar to what we do in class today, right?
not even in class, but right now we're doing it like this.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
how
yeah.
we
You're
do
right.
our podcast right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, and the concept of liberal arts also comes from that time through the trivium and quadrivium, subjects like language, math, and music.
Oh my god, that's a lot of things you mentioned there. But what about science? I'm curious about one.
Well, early forms of science are also developed back then. For example, alchemy encouraged experimentation, which later on evolved into modern chemistry.
So even what we think as a weird ideas is actually contribute to science.
Yes, that is true. And medieval scholars also started observing nature more carefully, which became the basis of modern scientific methods.
Wait, so that means it also happened with astronomy. Am I wrong?
Correct! Early studies of stars eventually led to modern technologies like satellites and GPS.
Now I'm curious about something. How is the cultural contributions back then?
Okay, so when you see big cathedrals in Europe, many are influenced by Gothic architecture, tall structures, and large windows that inspired modern web design. These features make buildings higher and brighter, allowing more light to enter and creating a dramatic atmosphere.
Oh my god.
I think I know some of the example, like the big church that went viral on social media.
Yeah, I've seen that one. And it's also very beautiful.
Yeah, it is very beautiful.
Like, I want to see it myself actually.
Yeah, I agree.
That is indeed beautiful.
And what about in literature? Could you explain it, Farah?
Of course, Rima, medieval epic stories are very similar to modern movies. Think about superhero films. They are basically modern versions of heroic tales. In the early Middle Ages, these stories are focused on brave knights who went on dangerous quests, fought evil, and upheld values like honor and loyalty.
Is that so? That means the same thing also happened to romantic love story, isn't it?
Yes, you're right. The idea of romantic love story today, like what we usually see in movies or social media, actually comes from the concept of courtly love in the Middle Ages.
But what about the art? I'm kind of curious about it.
Me too, me too.
Okay, so illuminated manuscripts were like early illustrated books. Today, we still combine visuals and text in things like presentations or social media posts.
Oh, it reminds me, I love music very much and I'm curious about what they are doing back then with music.
Oh, Gregorian chant became the foundation of Western music. So modern music systems actually trace back to that period.
Oh, I see. I would love to listen to one of them.
Yeah, you should. So, from religion, politics, society, economy, education, and even culture, it's clear that the Middle Ages are not as distant as we might think.
Yeah, I agree. a lot of what we experience today actually has its roots from that period of time. Like that one, like the heroic
stories,
yeah.
yes.
And
It is
building-
about knights, right? It is about
yes.
knights, yeah.
Also, like the architecture and buildings that Farah mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the Gothic
Yeah.
architecture.
It shows that history doesn't just stay in the past, it continues to shape our present.
Exactly. Even right now, we're a university student.
Yeah.
So it's related to back then. The story never dies.
What do you think, Rima? What's the most interesting part about our podcast today?
I think the most interesting part is the most interesting part would be the social structure because
Why?
I think it may sound very rigid back then, right? Because there's a huge gap between nobility and peasants. Like there's peasant, there's knights, there's nobles. We don't see it a lot in today's world, but I think there are still some issues that might relate to that social structure, like how the government treat us.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I see.
They still have the power, right?
Yeah.
Even though they say, what, we are a democracy, republic? No, I don't think so.
I'm also so sick of that actually.
Yeah, they were like the nobles,
Yeah.
but we don't want to be the peasant. So we
Yeah.
still,
We need to fight.
we need to fight for our rights, right?
Yes, we also.
And what about you now?
For me personally, I'm most interested in religion.
Religion.
Yes, you know, like back then they only have like limited choices about what they could pray for. Even they need monks and nuns to pray for their behalf. But now we can just have a free will about what religions we want to
Yeah.
want to practice it every day. So I think it's really important that now the world is becoming even better than back then.
Yeah, I've heard it before. Like, there's things like if you're not a Catholic or not a Protestant, you'll be
Oh yeah, I know.
you'll get executed or something.
Uh-huh.
Because witch.
Yeah. And also, oh yeah, witch.
Yeah.
No. It also connected with now, I think. Like, about the religion, it plays such a big role even now.
Yeah.
And back then.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah. And Farah, what did you think?
I think the most interesting part is the education system. I mean,
It's the most close with our life.
yeah, because we're a university student.
Yeah.
Right? So it's our everyday lives, and I just find it cool that like alchemy back then evolved into the science that we study today.
Yeah.
And all of the subjects.
Even the astronomy too
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
comes from that.
Yeah, and like satellites, GPS. That's so cool.
Actually surprised me so much
Yeah.
when you said that it has a connection to astronomy. Because
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because actually people back then is not just old-fashioned.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
they're actually ahead of their time if you think about it. Right?
they are the geniuses
Oh,
back in their time, right?
that's so cool
Yeah,
actually.
no, it seems like they invented everything.
Yeah, right.
Like they could even invent time machine if they want.
I know, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's near the end of our podcast. Thank you guys. It's been such a lovely time talking with you guys.
Yes, I'm so happy
Yeah,
to be
today's
invited.
episode has really interesting topics. I
Yes,
love it so
agree.
much. I love to talk about it a lot.
Me too, and it become more fun because there's you guys.
Aww.
That's so honored.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind being invited by you again.
Oh, you should.
Let's go.
Yes, I will invite you again next time.
Me too.
Everyone,
Don't
yes.
forget me, right?
Yeah, of course, I won't forget you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you guys for listening. Bye bye.
Bye bye, guys. Thank you.